This is a Guide Your Light network production, creating podcasts with purpose.
My name is Kiani Mills, and this podcast is created to help you see, feel, and experience the human side of business. I'm a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a parent. And like many who have travelled this path before me, I've been through the lows of the lows and the gut-wrenching pain. But I've been through the triumphs and the wins and the indescribable highs, all of which I consider to be my lessons in the school of life. On this show, we are going to start some conversations to ignite new world ideas into some very old age businesses. So if you're a leader, a business mind, or an entrepreneur, get ready to think, act, and feel differently so that we can all reach a new level of business success together. So, what are you waiting for?
Welcome back to this week's episode of She Can Humanise Business, where we talk all things human, secondary business, because as we know, business is life, but life is business. So I'm very, very excited today. I finally got this incredible man in front of me, Matt Srama from the Srama Group. Welcome today.
No, thanks for having me, Kiani. It's been cool to see your growth in the show. I love what you guys are doing. So it's great I could be a part of it.
Yeah, cool. Likewise. It's been really cool to watch. Almost like it feels like I've been watching from the sidelines, watching when you launched the business and then watching it grow and now the scale. It feels like it's a totally different brand now.
Yeah, no, it's been a really fun journey, and I guess it all started like documenting the process because a lot of people are scared of business, and I was kind of just hoping to give back what I would want to see, and it is not all the shiny stuff, it's tough stuff as well, and I feel like that I want to make people include in the journey because it is a journey at the end of the day. There's no real destination in business, right? Like it's not like you win and lose, it's the finite game, so it's the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I start every single one of my episodes asking the question. So I'm going to ask you the question. What does humanizing business mean to you?
Oh, that's a good one. I think humanizing business to me sounds as though, I guess it kind of removes the asset and the wealth creation side and who's behind it and who are they as a person, what do they value. Behind every great business there's a great founder, right? And I don't think we celebrate the founder and who they are as a person. It's like the identity is the business, right? So that's what it means to me, is like splitting the identity of self away from the business.
I love that so much. And I feel like it's a really important piece that you said right there, because most people, I was expecting you to say the words, behind every great business is a great team. And that is true. But the founder really does get looked over almost. So I love the fact that you've highlighted the founder.
I guess the founder creates the vision at the end of the day. And yes, team's definitely one of the most important pillar. But again, the founder kind of brings everything to life at the start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do feel like the world that we live in, especially social media, and, I love social media. It's been an absolute catalyst for success that I've had. So I'm not against it, but I do feel as though with the glitz and the glam that comes with social media, you see as an outsider all of the business success and you see the wins and the client testimonials and all the great things. But, for the founder, in my experience, it can be sleepless nights and stresses and worries and no time and things like that. Has that been your experience also in the business world?
Look, my background before getting into business, I was in professional sport, and one thing I really took away from professional sport was the resilience factor, the tough kind of grind it out. You hear that sort of mentality stuff. But what I think in business, it's not so much physical toughness and, playing through injury and stuff. It's more mental toughness and resilience. And Angela Duckworth has that book, Grit, and I wholeheartedly believe like the best in business have high levels of grit. And for me, I feel as though all the moments that were tough were also the most rewarding. So I feel definitely I can relate to having those moments of struggle and tough. And yeah, you said like sleepless nights for sure. But I always say like, what's your grit factor as well? But there's like this balance between having grit, but also having self-care as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to dive into all those aspects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the times when we are leading a team, usually it is team first. So we're checking in on others and making sure they're good, and we're only as good as the people we have around us. But what do you, as the founder of this company, what do you do in your own mindset? Say, for instance, if you can think back to probably the roughest time you've had in business, what was that time, and what did you do to help yourself grit through it?
Yeah, look, there's been probably 3 key moments in the business where, you know, you question yourself, is it all worth it? And why am I putting myself through all this stress and pain and anxiety? But what I found has helped me every single time move through that is always understanding the why and the purpose behind what you're doing. And I put that into 2 categories always. There's your why with the business in terms of what your mission is and your values as a company and what you're aiming to provide humanity to give back, because that, you know, it's more than just the business transaction. It's providing value to a certain avatar or whatever it is. So that's the business side, always understanding that. But then off the back of that, it's like, what's your personal what? Like, what is it? Like, why do you want to be in business? Like, is it a financial thing? And then if it is financial, what are you using the funds for?
Yeah, where's the contribution?
What's the contribution? Yeah, exactly right. So those 2 things alone really help me when it's tough, because yeah, there's been numerous times, definitely when we started scaling quickly, where it was a bit out of my depth, having no business experience, to kind of keep the wheels in motion, keep the service levels high for our clients, keep the team happy, and keep, you know, producing and improving and innovating what we're doing, all at the same time quite quickly. So it's those kind of moments where you're like, what am I doing it all for? And then you sort of remember, oh yeah, it's the purpose behind what I'm doing. It's the value you're providing, and what that provides is something back to the founder and the team as well. Like, and it's not always just monetary either, you know, and seeing team grow and seeing them achieve their intrinsic motivators. Like, we had one of our team just buy a house. Another one started his own side business as well. So that sort of stuff really lights me up.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so beautiful, because I feel like there is a bit of a misconception in the public eye, especially when you do start a business. I know for me, when I first started, I just wanted to get as big as I possibly could, as fast as I possibly could. Scale. Yes. I said yes to everything. I'm like, yes. I can do it. And then sat there and went, oh shit, how am I going to do this? Oh my God, I need to hire staff. I need to hire this. I know I was a one-man band when I first started. So that idea of wanting to get big and wanting to get big really, really fast is yeah, people do it. And that's where we hear these great stories and we see these great successes, but there's so much strategy and implementation and even finding the right people. It's a juggle, isn't it?
100%. That's why I really love the process side of things, not so much the outcome, because the growth lies in the process. That's what I've really identified and found, that the struggle and the learning and the kind of like, you don't even know what you're doing. You're just kind of moving through it as you go. And then you reflect back and then you realize, wow, like I don't know how I got through that. I guess that's the confidence that keeps brewing the best in business. I'm noticing as well, is that they don't have it figured out. They're just kind of getting it done, having a crack, realizing that it can't be perfect. So you just keep moving through, you're figuring out, you're learning and growing each time. That's what I'm finding, is to always remember that the journey is where the growth lies. The destination is an outcome of what's happened during that journey. Absolutely.
And the reality in business is that the minute you perfect it, something changes.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you're like, I'm never changing it again. It's like, COVID or whatever comes next. It's something that is unexpected. And this is where I really do feel in business, it sets apart great leaders from managers, where those moments in times, instead of being like, what am I going to do? It's like, amazing. Let's make this work. How cool is this? change it.
Yes, 100%. And there's a really cool, if it adds any values to your listeners, I think it's Simon Sinek talks around the finite game. And like sport, you know, there's a winner and a loser generally at the end of a footy game or a soccer game, whatever. In business, there's no real scoreboard. There's no real, it's kind of like the infinite game, he calls it.
Yeah.
And it's understanding that the game is whatever you want it to be, and it's against yourself in a way.
Yeah. And I guess, as you said at the start, if we're, again, Simon Sinek, it all starts with why. If we're leading towards our why, especially when we are running a business, and for those of you who don't know who Matt is, I probably should have started with this. He's got an incredible buyers advocacy business in the Gold Coast. And as I said, I've watched this business grow from launch to now. And the beautiful thing that I see, not only is the education impeccable, so anyone who needs to learn more about buyers advocacy, jump on their socials, jump on their website and have a look. Matt also has an amazing podcast as well. So education, I feel, is so valuable, but it's also come from the place of continually going back to the why, which for you guys as a business, you're growing your business. So it's not just about you, even though you are the Srama Group, it's the group around you and watching their successes. And as a business owner, when you get to the point where you go, it's actually not about me. It's actually not about the money in my bank account. It's actually the why is bigger than me. Yes, it's the clients and it's the team, but it's also, what are we leaving? Like, what's a legacy that we're leaving behind? And figuring that out at a really early, well, it looked like you figured it out in an early stage. To me, I feel is, from an outsider's perspective, one of the greatest successes that you guys have been able to achieve. Would I be correct in that, or is there another secret recipe that we've missed?
Well, look, a big one is that I've found is, we're very big on like vision, mission, and values. And when I was playing footy, it was very like wishy-washy. You know, we do, like, you hear the word culture and stuff like that. And coming from professional sport, I realize now that I'm a bit older that, man, culture is nearly everything. Like it's kind of the ethos and the DNA within the doors. And what that allows us is, I was really intentional with creating culture or setting a culture. I find a lot of businesses now don't have like a feeling when you're coming into work, or a feeling of the people within there. So why I felt that having some sort of vision and a mission and values that you hold, it's helped us be able to hire and fire different people, being able to say no to things that didn't align with what was truly valuable. There's been a lot of times, especially when we started getting some recognition and success and, you know, all the awards and things like that, where opportunities come on your plate a lot. And that's the key, when you got to realign back to your why and back to your own values. Because if it doesn't align with your values, you know, you become a yes man to everything. You lose what the whole purpose was at the start. I don't know. I've just been identifying that in business, when people don't have a strong culture or any sort of vision or mission or values within the team. I think that's where, you know, turnover happens a lot, you know, toxic culture, things like that, not enjoying where you work. I think, again, not something I've perfected, but something I'm really trying to always keep an eye on.
And I really do feel that where we're at now, globally, generationally, whichever it is, people won't settle for a shitty working environment. They just won't. On the other side of this thing is options, everything, good, bad, whatever. But again, it's going, hey, how am I going to be the best that we can be, so that people want to be here and be a part of it? It's really cool that you mentioned the sport as well. And what do you feel has been the biggest skill that you learned? And you played NRL rugby?
Yes.
Rugby.
Yeah.
Amazing. Wrong shaped ball to the one I'm used to. That one. What was the biggest skill that you learned in footy that you were able to then bring into business?
I think the biggest skill I took away from NRL into business was definitely around discipline and consistency. You actually have to do it. You got to do the work. Like you got to show up. You got to show up to training. You got to show up and perform. So the discipline to wake up each day and put your body through what it goes through, I think, is a big one, because it is easy to quit when you're sore or tired and things like that. So just the discipline of being mindful of what you're eating, what your sleep habits are like, just everything, like what you're doing in the gym. Are you skipping that last rep? Are you missing that session when, you know, you should have known you went? It's just creating that discipline muscle. And then consistency. I always say to myself, I really want to keep continuing to build my consistency muscle, because that's one thing I've really observed in business is the most successful, they're just really consistent people. I find that is like 90% of the nirvana is like, just, can you stay consistent?
Yeah.
And stay consistent when things are tough? Or can you stay consistent when maybe sales drop? Or can you stay consistent? And one thing I always love is it's not about consistency over a week or a month either. It's would you do it for a decade?
It's like that longevity version of consistency. I love that you included discipline, because I feel like that's for one that for a lot of people, when it comes to what am I going to do today, discipline doesn't tend to make it to the top of the list.
Yeah. Well, I always see it this way, right? I just come back from an entrepreneurs retreat, and it was really good doing some learning off some of the best in Australian business. And one thing I noticed was the really successful ones I took away, they're very disciplined kind of in the way they act and move. Because I thought about this, right? You get all these key takeaways and you get all these learnings, and, you know, you need to change this system and that structure and hire this person. And you could have the answer, but you have to actually do something to get it. Yeah. So it's the old knowledge, you know, everyone can gain knowledge, but knowledge is nothing without actually implementation as well. So I think that was the big one, was in life, like we can have all the ideas and we can have all the answers, but if you aren't willing to actually do the work required, again, that's what it takes. Jocko Willink has a saying, discipline equals freedom.
God, really, and didn't we all start businesses to get some more time?
Yeah, it's exactly right. 100%.
I'm pretty sure that was part of the sales pitch.
Yeah,
that's your business. Get your time back. Manage your time. It's like, okay.
One of my favorites is, if you're someone on the fence around starting a business, don't think it's a case of, you know, doing it because you want more free time. There's going to be a period where you will realize that to get it to that point, you're going to have to do the work, right? So
100%. And that it's like anything, as you said, with sport, it's you got to turn up to training, you've got to eat the right food. I grew up in Melbourne, right? So I used to watch the boys in Port Melbourne Beach on a Sunday morning, freezing cold, with their jumpers and their hoodies and everything on in the ocean doing recovery. That is dedication. To me, I look at that going, no way.
Yeah,
that was part of running a business. I'd be like, nah, I'm out. But those kinds of things, you got to do it.
Yeah, and it comes back to, again, you can relate it to what we were saying before. Probably some people wouldn't do that because the why is not big enough, because they don't need to. But for those guys, like, it's attached to a big why for them. Like maybe they want to put their career, they want to make this team or whatever. So everyone's got their own whys for whatever it is in life, right?
Yeah, and look, as you said, you know, I know that you were referencing the culture and team environment. You said, I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. And even as a business owner, we can't also be good at everything. So dedication and consistency are really important. But for me, it's like delegation. Know when and how to delegate, because, man, if I was still at the forefront of my business and I was doing the conveyancing for my clients, I say to clients now, I want you to do it. I'm like, trust me, you don't want me. You want her. She's amazing. I know my strengths, not my strength anymore. I'm business development. I'm up the front end. So knowing where your strengths sit within an organization and then bringing in the people to be able to fill the gaps and plug the holes where it is their superpower, I feel like that is a really critical part of being a successful business owner, is being able to see where we're not the best fit, where it's not conducive for us to spend our time there, and put someone in that position.
Oh, I really relate to that wholeheartedly. One of my favorites is you got to let go to grow, and the ability to get good people around you, train them, uplift them, give them what they need to flourish, and then get out of their way.
That's right. Oh, give them responsibility to thrive.
Yeah, 100%. And it's definitely something I struggled with when I was first hiring a few people, but now I'm understanding, like, yeah, you really want to give people no constraints on what if I make a mistake? Like everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes. But
as you said before, though, mistakes are opportunities to learn.
To learn, yeah, 100%.
How lucky are we that we get an opportunity to learn?
Definitely.
Yeah. I love that. I know me when I was growing my very first business, and I was like, oh, the easiest way to grow is to just hire more people like me. I just filled the room with people like me. And before I knew it, no one was there on a Friday afternoon after lunch. No one was there on a Monday morning, first thing in the morning. And I was like, oh shit, I've filled the room with socialites, but they don't the business that I've got. It's my business, it's my baby. I'm going to be there until 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm going to be there at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Have that same dedication. It was a little different. And it took me a real wake-up call to be like, what have I done?
You're 100% right. Like, in an interesting one as well. And there was like a book that I really like the E-Myth Revisited. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No, but I'm going to look it up.
Just talk around like the layers of like the technician to manager to entrepreneur, like the different sort of levels you go through in business. And anyone who is in business or looking to get into business, I highly recommend analyzing like that framework of like, moving from technician to more manager to maybe like CEO to like entrepreneur. Like there's all different stages of business. They all have different challenges. And one thing I've really took away from business, because when I first started, you see businesses who maybe in year 3, year 5, year 10, and comparison's the thief of joy, right? And I think that's one part to add value to anyone on the journey is always focus on your own. When I just focused on my own journey, you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. That was a really, really key one. When I shifted that mindset, that was a big one to just realize like, my chapter 1's different to someone else's chapter 20. So focus on you.
That is such an important message. You're right. Again, those bloody things on our hands, the phones, comparison, it's so easy to do. I know for me, it kicked up not long ago. I've recently moved into doing some business coaching and business mentoring. And one of the tasks that I had to do was suss out my competitors, have a look at it. One thing I've never done in the conveyancing business, I've never looked at my competitors there because different world. But stepping into this new space, I was like, okay, let's suss out the others. And like within 30 minutes, I'm sitting there going, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I haven't written 60 books. I don't have a bloody best-selling podcast. I don't have this. I don't have that. But to the point where I was almost like, okay, I'm hiding under my bed now. I'm like, you can never find me kind of thing. So easy to happen. So I feel like it's a really important message there that you're right. Your chapter 1 versus someone's chapter 20, because that's exactly what I did. I was at chapter, not even ready to write chapter 1 yet, considering writing chapter 1, and looked at people's chapter 100 and went, oh shit, I can't do that.
Yes. I feel a lot of people do that as well. So it's a big one to be mindful of for sure.
So what was it that gave you the leap to go sport, buyers advocacy? Why property and why buyers advocacy?
It was a chain of events over kind of a few years. And that's what I feel happens in life. Like life will always open up doors, and it's our job, I feel, to walk through them. And then I feel life will close the ones you're not meant to continue to walk.
The universe has a beautiful way of doing that for us.
100%. But what I feel is people who feel stuck in life, they're just not walking through the door. There's doors open in front of them that they can't see because they want to stay where they are. So I guess I was always wanting the universe to kind of, whatever was put in front of me, I'll have a look inside. And then if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So what I found was when the rugby league kind of professional career door opened up and I had an opportunity, I took it with both hands and made a career out of it. And during that journey, this is why I love the doors analogy, because you walk in one door and what happens when you're inside there, all these other doors start opening up and you walk through that. And then, it's just one big maze of walking through all these doors. And as I said, the ones you're not meant to continue to walk through, life will just close them anyway. So it's fine. During the door of NRL and playing there, I was getting injured. I got injured. And then that door of being injured, and I was at a lot of x-ray rooms and stuff, I picked up a magazine on property investment. And funnily enough, that magazine kind of opened up a door.
Oh.
I went down this rabbit hole of property in my early 20s. I was about 20, 21. Yeah, just loved it. I went on YouTube and started looking at property investment, things like that. I always thought it was you buy property to live in. I didn't know it was a wealth vehicle as well. And then yeah, I just became obsessed with it. Got my first property. Then I was playing footy, and then the money I was making, I was putting it to property. It's funny how they kind of align like that. And then unfortunately, I had to retire due to injury. And then what that allowed me to do was then go into the property industry and just had a crack. And yeah, fast forward to here, it was like that. That was kind of how that progression of kind of who I was before, who I became, was all kind of intertwined together, right? But each time is my favorite one of all. Sometimes life's best gifts come badly wrapped.
Oh, I love.
Yeah, so I sort of think key pillars. When I got injured, career-ending injury, every time I got injured, it gave me space to study property, which allowed me to become a better investor. Then when I had my career-ending injury, very bad gift, but then what that allowed me to do was transition quicker than most people in professional sport. And then I attached my identity away from being an athlete into, hey, I've got a whole world ahead of me now, and I was still young and didn't have kids or anything like that. So really it was a blessing in disguise retiring from footy, because what I could never see was there's this whole business world here that I felt I was made for, that I didn't know. And that only came because I retired early.
Yeah, which at the time you'd be sitting there being like, oh my God, my career's over.
Yeah.
Surprise.
Yeah, literally. It's just like
starting.
At the time, it feels like a bad gift, but life's best gifts come badly wrapped sometimes.
Absolutely. And I have a true belief that sports players hold a really beautiful, unique ability to step into the property market. And look, probably a lot of other industries, but it's the world that I live in, and I've seen it happen consistently. Because as a professional athlete, there is already, we watch you guys on TV every single week. We watch you battle your asses out for the team, to win for the team, not individually, as a collective, as a club. And the beauty in seeing that, there's just this instant trust. We instantly trust you because you're a team player. And that, I think some sports players like yourself utilize it beautifully. Others don't realize the gift that they've been given in the industry, any real industry, as I said. But for this one in particular, especially when you've gone and invested your money, bought your own properties, done it yourself, you've got the trust in the community with the knowledge of how to do it. To me, it's like the superstar bundle. It's like the golden ticket to be able to run a really successful business, because for a lot of people, the hardest thing to do is get credibility. And you guys, when you are good at what you do, you've got it. It's a beautiful gift.
No, you've nailed it on the head there. And now, just reflecting on it now, you're used to doing something for a long period of time without seeing result. That's what I realized as well. Like in sport, like you do something from a kid, like it's kind of like, yeah, I debuted in professional sport at the age of 19, coming on the 20, just like, oh wow, you're so young. But then you also look back, I was playing that sport since the age of 5.
Yeah.
So really, it was a 15-year slog of every single day putting it my intention.
And then the actual professional part of it, given injury, was quite small in reference to how long you'd been doing it. So it's like the glory paid off from those 15 years of hard work.
100%. Yeah. And each period of life has just continually opened up more opportunities, more doors. And that's what I always say to myself. I'm not afraid of just playing what's in front and being in the moment. And because again, like I'm loving what I'm doing now, but I'm also a realist to believe that all the skills I'm generating, all the people I'm meeting, everything I'm learning during this growth train, I feel like I'm evolving as a person, which is going to open up more doors. So it's all part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said to you at the start, like good people know good people. And as good people, because we are all good people, if we continually learn and evolve and give ourselves the ability to transform who we are. I had this the kind of like notion come up before when you were talking about your sliding doors moment, where for a lot of people in that career ending injury moment would have been like, I'm going to go and just fall into a bit of a pit of sorrow because that's now over. I can't get that back. But the gift in being able to see that your new career was just born and birthed, and I'm sure there was a period of mourning. I'm not discounting what that would have been like to experience, but that shift in ability to be able, as you said, NRL gave you the resilience. Do you feel like that ability to be able to go from one to the next quite fluidly came from the resilience that you'd been building up for the last 15, 20 years through playing the sport?
Definitely, yeah. That's played a huge part in it. You really highlighted something there, that there was some really down times, especially when I was retired, because I had my identity attached to being an athlete.
Yeah.
So what really helped me was shifting my mindset. And I heard this from Srama, the author of the 5 a.m. Club. I love his stuff, but I heard him say this on a podcast and really was profound, that things will break down to get to break through. So I felt I was just having my breakdown moment of life where, hey, you're not an athlete anymore. That's not who you are. It's time to break through, and life is preparing you for this breakthrough, which I felt it did. I just couldn't feel it at the time.
And you're right, like the identity that we create, whether you are a professional football player or whether you are a janitor, it doesn't matter. Like, we attach ourselves to our job or our title or our role. So I can understand how shocking, especially in the way that it came, being so unexpected. It really would have knocked you for six. Do you feel as though that was at the darkest point that you've had?
Yeah, no, it's very, very tough, because it's all you ever known. Again, I felt my identity was wrapped up in that. It came before what I thought. So my expectations weren't aligned with reality, which I feel is just common life. But that's one thing I've been really mindful of now in business. As you know, there's lots of ups and downs, and even away from business, it's something that's really helped me a lot, is what I'm feeling, just a matter of expectation, not in alignment with reality.
I love that.
Tony Robbins once said it around, we all create a blueprint in our head of what we think is happening or what should happen in our life. We get those feelings, it's like a chemical imbalance in our body. All it is that blueprint we had in our head isn't aligned. It's not happening. But the cool thing is we can always, through self, change the blueprint as we go, which is the powerful thing, right? I think some people think that's a fixed blueprint, whereas we're actually the author. We can actually change the blueprint ourselves.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And the one thing I've noticed through time, and especially going through my own journey, is how comfortable we allow ourselves to get in that fixed blueprint. As you said, this is who I am. This is what's going to happen every day. This is what I'm going to do. We're like, yeah, this is comfortable. So then, as go back to the doors analogy, if a door was to open, we'd be like, oh no, that's not, I'm going to stay here in my little blueprint that's kept me safe, and it's just given me what I need. But by not knowing any different, we're only experiencing what it is that we've experienced in the past. We're not creating anything new in the future. So my push for anyone that needs to step out of their blueprint is to be uncomfortable and learn to be okay with being uncomfortable. Walk through that door, step into that unknown space just for a minute and give it a try. And as Matt was saying, you don't know what's on the other side. To me, that's exciting. Getting excited thinking.
I always have a little mantra I hold each year when I do my diary back in January. And this year for 2023, it was lean into uncertainty. So every time the uncertainty comes up and you get that chemical feeling in your body of the anxiousness, scared, fear, actually lean into it, close down the time of feeling to action, and just make it happen. And I'll tell you what, that one mantra has really helped me throughout this year, is just when I get the feeling, I actually just dive into it. And you get better at actually limiting that time between feeling and action or inaction. And then I feel that's what I've been learning the most success to do, is that time between those two is shorter than people who don't make it happen.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in business was wrapped up in a very interesting gift, because we went on a business retreat and we got taken to a gun range. And I have always, just unknowingly, I don't know why, unconsciously had a big fear of guns. And the thought of going to a gun range, I was getting sweaty palms. And I was like, I can't do it. And so through the process, they explained around and the philosophy by the end of it, I ended up shooting a gun. I ended up winning the competition, because I was able to just not think and just shoot and follow the target, and it worked. But the reason why it worked was because the analogy and the philosophy was so clear, is that as a business owner, that gap between, as you were saying, like having the feeling and taking action, the worst thing you can do as a business owner is do nothing. So the idea of the gun and shooting is like, just see it and shoot, see it and shoot. If you make a decision instead of doing nothing, you've then got the ability to remake the decision or remake it in a certain direction. You can learn from what may not have worked, or you take a freaking incredible step in the right direction and it pays off massively. Yeah. But that analogy for me was like mind-blowing.
That's a really good one.
So do you feel now that by closing that gap, the decisions you're making are coming from, what is it, coming from a clearer place, or is it the knowledge, or what is it for you that you feel is the benefit from kind of closing that gap?
I feel more confidence, because I feel self-belief and confidence is the secret sauce to everything. And I feel every time you do something where you were uncomfortable, you leant into it, and then you came out the other side, it strengthens the confidence muscle and improves the self-belief. One thing I've really noticed, I noticed it in sport, and now I'm noticing it again in business, is that people who have, even the most humble people, they're very confident inside. They've got high levels of self-belief.
There's a massive difference between confidence and arrogance.
100%. So I noticed, like, everyone who's doing well in sport and business and different things, they believe in themselves wholeheartedly. And I think every time you do something that, again, that gap, we close it and take action, you're going to win or learn either way. Like, you're not going to lose. So
I love that. I love that. You've got to win or learn. There is no losing.
There's no such thing as a loss. So at the end of the day, all you can gain is either more confidence or a new key learning that you can take. And one last thing I'll finish on, which I always ask myself, which has really helped me throughout this year away from business. I use it a lot in business, but now I've been attaching it into my personal life, is what is the true cost of inaction? What are you really costing yourself by doing nothing? You know, people always say, oh, that might be too expensive, or I don't want to invest into that course, or, you know, listen to those podcasts every day and do whatever. But you sort of always got to ask yourself, what is the cost of inaction?
What is the cost of not doing it?
That's the true cost.
Oh, I appreciate that so very much. I've just come back from UPW with Tony Robbins in person as well.
Oh, yeah.
He says the exact same thing. It's, what is the cost of not making that decision, or not making that move, or not taking action? Not what may happen if it falls apart. It's like, what is the cost of not doing it? And for a lot of us, we're not taught that. We're not taught in that way. It's almost like flipping it on its head and just rewiring the shit out of people's brains so that we can all succeed.
100%. Definitely.
Oh, you've been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm sure we've got so many more things that we could talk about. And we didn't even really talk about the actual job, which is, I kind of think that's cool. And if you don't mind, where can people find you? Where can people learn more about buyers advocacy and about the Srama Group?
I'm on all the socials and whatnot. Just type in Matt Srama, send us a message. And like you said there, I've really come to the point in life where when I started the business, I was like similar to my sport days, you know, attached to it. And what I've realized now is Matt Srama is Matt Srama, and the Srama Group is an attachment to me. I'm not an attachment to the business. So that's why I really love jumping on this podcast today, because I wholeheartedly believe is business is a vehicle. And I heard this one, I loved it, that people say like business is my baby, or like, oh, my business is everything and whatnot. But at the end of the day, your family, that's at home. That's your kids. That's your wife. That's your husband. That's your family. Business is an asset that you've created to help whatever it is in life that you choose. At the end of the day, you're adding value to the world, which is awesome. And why that's helped me have that more mindset shift is, I'm all around. Look, who knows what the future's gonna hold. So for me, the business that we're creating is epic, but it's also not me as a person. But if people do want to check out the business. It's called the Srama Group. So we're a buyer's agency based on the Gold Coast. Love what we do. We've got a great team. And then, in my personal branding life, it's just Matt Srama. And stay tuned. There's a lot of stuff happening in the future now and into the future as well. But who knows what doors will open up. Hey, Kiani.
I know. I'm very excited, especially now this connection has happened. I have a feeling we're going to do great things. What's the name of your podcast?
Oh, yeah. So it's called The Property Prequel. So the whole purpose is being in the know before you buy. I just felt there was a bit of a gap where there was all really good education around buying and investing and things like that. But I don't know. I just felt like there's this whole piece before you actually buy. Take some learnings, take some pick from the mistakes people have made on the journey. So we've got anywhere from, we had Darren Palmer on there from the block. He was sharing his secrets to design, and then we've had builders. We've had all sorts of walks of life, and it's just a way that people can learn from the mistakes. I'm always hunting what are the learnings out of these great people in property.
Yeah, and it's such an incredible podcast. I love it. So everybody, follow Matt, jump on board, follow the Srama Group, follow that as well. Thank you so much again for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to all of my listeners every single week. I love each and every one of you. Have an incredible week, and I will see you next week with another incredible guest. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to hear your feedback around what resonated and what key lessons and learnings that you took out of today's episode. You can find me on Instagram and on LinkedIn under the She Can Humanise Business podcast or Kiani Mills. I really hope that you were able to see, feel and experience a new way of humanising business.